Welcome trader to the 5th unit. In this unit, we'll break down the OTC market, what it is, and how to interact with it when trading binary options. After this video, you'll be able to independently open trades on the OTC market and use ready-made strategies. If you haven't seen Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, or Unit 4, I recommend checking them out, since they contain ready-made strategies and a complete breakdown of the entire market, and what you need to know. So make sure to watch them. All these previous units are to give you the context for what we'll be discussing here in Unit 5. Let's talk about the OTC market. Let's get started. If we choose a currency pair, for example, euro-dollar, you can see that we actually have two currency pairs. So euro-dollar OTC and just regular euro-dollar are two different currency pairs. If we compare the charts, for example, let's pick the regular euro-dollar, and then on the right side, let's open the euro-dollar OTC. Let's set the same chart types. Then we'll see that we actually have different settings. In other words, the charts look different. Yes, they look similar at the moment. Both are showing a downward movement, but the OTC market is an over-the-counter market. So we don't have synchronization with all the other exchanges. Basically, everything we see without the OTC label, OTC refers to all charts that are synchronized with all other exchanges. So on every exchange and on TradingView, we'll have synchronization. Anything with the OTC label means we'll only be trading within the exchange itself. For example, there could be several exchanges here, and each one will have a different chart for this currency pair. They'll look pretty similar to a regular currency pair, but will only be traded within the exchange. But here, if we take the regular Euro USD chart, we'll have synchronization, and the price will be the same everywhere. Here, we'll have 3 different price values. So what are the advantages of the OTC market? Let's break down all these markets. Actually, there are several benefits. The very first advantage is that it operates 24 hours a day and runs every single day. If a regular market depends on trading sessions and banks, when the markets are open or closed, and we have to adjust to all that, the OTC market, on the other hand, is open 24/7. This means traders can trade within the exchange and as a result aren't dependent on external factors, news, or other banks. But there are also certain drawbacks, which we'll talk about later. The fact that it's open 24 hours a day is definitely a big advantage. So for example, let's imagine a scenario. You come home from work at night and sit down to trade, but the markets are closed. You can't trade, so you have to adjust to the schedule. At that moment, the OTC market saves you since it's always open. If we look at the schedule, you can see that these OTC currency pairs are always available, while regular currency pairs have set trading hours. Or take another scenario. For example, you're in the United States or in Asia, where the time zones are completely different. So for instance, in the States, the markets might be closed during the day and open at night. In other words, it's a really inconvenient time. It's the same in Asia. All of this is set up for the European format, specifically the standard UTC. So that's something you need to keep in mind as well. And that's actually a really big advantage of the OTC market. Another advantage is that we have very high volatility. Again, look, if we open 5-second candles on the Euro USD OTC currency pair, we can see that there's quite a lot of movement. If we open a regular currency pair, Euro-dollar, we don't see such active movement here. The market often just stands still. But in the OTC market, you don't have these kinds of issues, meaning you won't get those freezes. Again, this is because volatility disappears, players leave the market, and as a result, it becomes hard for you to synchronize everything. But here, we don't have those problems. There's always volatility, always movement, so how does that help us? For example, you want to open a trade, you do your analysis, but let's say you're trading a level and you want to enter on a bounce. On a regular market, if there's no volatility, the price will just stay in place and basically won't move anywhere. So we would close the trade, roughly speaking, in our direction, at most for 5 points. On the OTC market, we'll see a much deeper movement, which can bring us, for example, anywhere from 15 to 50 points at a time. By the way, my previous trade actually brought me just that kind of profit. The next huge advantage, if you and I, again, if we open the entire OTC market, we'll almost always get a payout of 92%, and in some cases, 80%. Whereas if we open a regular market, payouts are often 40%, 50%, so pretty low. This, again, is due to the fact that we have synchronization with regular currency markets, which are always open. And accordingly, we have an additional commission, whereas on the OTC market, we don't have any. So we're trading with the same traders who are trading on our broker, in this case, specifically on Pocket Option. For example, if a currency pair isn't popular, like from some little known country, the payout there can go as low as 30%. So naturally, we won't be making much from that. So for example, on the OTC market, with a 92% payout, you and I would make $920. That's from $1,000. So here, we'd only make $300, which is 3 times less. This is actually a big advantage of the OTC server, consistent high payouts. By the way, another big plus of the OTC market is that we've specifically set up a trading robot for it. I just showed an example of a trade. You can rewatch how I did it. Basically, it does the analysis for you on the specific currency pair you choose. Then it shows you the entry probability. So what is it right now? It shows the probability of a successful entry, and then it shows the probability of a reversal. And also the market volatility. On the OTC market, it's almost always high. So even without any skills, for example, if you're in a time zone that's far from Europe, or say you don't have time to trade, you can easily pick any currency pair on OTC. Just pay attention. If you selected OTC in the bot here, then you also need to choose a currency pair here that has the OTC label. So if you choose Eurodollar, it has to be Eurodollar. So pay attention to that. Here I have Euro USD OTC, and here you need to select this pair on the market. Not just any currency pair, but specifically the one with the OTC label. So make sure to pay attention to that as well. This is very, very important. You can activate this robot right now using the link in the description. I'll leave a link to it and, accordingly, instructions on how to activate it. It literally takes just 10 minutes of your time. And you'll have an AI assistant that will analyze the chart for you. The link to it is in the description and in the pinned comment. Another big advantage of the OTC market is that here, indicators work better here than on the regular market. Indeed, our OTC market is really tailored for indicators, and they have a strong influence on it. Or rather, it's us who influence the OTC market. Whereas on the regular financial market, technical tools work better than indicators. We'll go over that together a bit later as well. And look, on the OTC market, you can get a move of 100 points, even 200 points. It'll be very safe, and accordingly, you will always be protected. On the regular market, if you misjudge the volatility or don't calculate the timing of your trade, it'll be very tough for you, and you'll end up taking only small gains. Just +2 or +3 points. On the OTC market, look, you don't have those problems, plus 200 points. You'll be able to profit with any indicators. Let me remind you that we covered indicators in Unity 4 and Unity 3, so make sure to check those out. So we have a lot of indicators that will work on the OTC market. Also, more indicators mean more ready-made strategies. You can find them in our Telegram channel. So make sure to join and grab our ready-made indicators and strategies from there. A link will be in the description. Now, let's talk about the downsides of the OTC market. Actually, there are only a few drawbacks to this market. This is especially true for beginners. We have to trade quickly. A lot of beginners especially want to open trades for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or even 10 minutes. But that's actually quite a long time for OTC. Because here, volatility is high, and the price can change sharply at any moment. So we can't just open a trade, for example, in one direction. Or we have to read the market really well, for example, to predict a drop over 10 minutes. To find exactly this kind of trend. That doesn't happen very often, but right now we're actually seeing a perfect example. So when we do find such an example, we can open a long trade. But again, that's very, very rare. In the regular financial market, it's better for us. Trades that we open for 3, 5, or 10 minutes work better there. So here, you need to be ready to work with 1-minute trades. For each trade, we'll be using pretty short time frames, like 15 seconds, 10 seconds, or even 5 seconds. And so you have to trade quickly here because the volatility is always high. The second downside, as I mentioned, is that technical analysis doesn't work as well here. So all the tools we discussed in Unity 2 will not work as well, specifically on OTC. So for example, if we just mark a regular level on the regular market, it would give us, say, 7 out of 10 trades. But on OTC, that same level will only give us 5 out of 10 trades. And it's pretty much the same with all technical tools. So on the regular market, we get about 70 to 80%. Specifically with technical tools, but on OTC, we get about 50 to 60%. That's why indicators work better here. If you want to work with indicators, then this market is right for you. So we have a very powerful tool that we can use on weekends, when the main markets are closed at night, or just, again, when the markets are taking a break. We're not dependent on major news, but at the same time, we always need to be in a heightened state of volatility. This means that, for example, our analysis won't proceed gradually like in a regular market, but instead we'll see a very rapid reaction. You need to keep this in mind. On the one hand, it's a plus. If you learn to work quickly, you'll be able to catch very fast short moves, and as a result, make bigger profits. Just like I did here, catching a pretty deep downward move. But on the other hand, the downside is that if this is difficult for you and you prefer longer trades, it might not suit you. Let me know in the comments what you think about the OTC market. Also, just a reminder, you can join both the bot and our Telegram channel using the link in the description. I'll also post the link again in a pinned comment. If you have any questions, just message our managers. They'll be happy to help you. This was a basic course on binary options. Thank you for watching it all the way to the end. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about the whole course. What do you think about it? This is really just the basics. I'm not saying we covered any advanced tools here. No, this is just the basic information that every trader who wants to trade binary options needs to know. Anyway, I'll leave all the useful links in the description. With that, I'll say goodbye for now. See you in the next videos. Until next time.